We don't need the headphones.
We don't need the headphones. We're just talking our computer.
Do I need to turn my volume up?
No, turn the volume up.
I mean, mute.
Yep. All right, everybody, welcome in. It's our Sunday Morning Tailgate Show. We apologize for the brief delay, but we are on rolling. I'm Justin Kinder. He's Keith Byars, and we're live here from Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. And we're off and rolling. Happy Super Bowl Sunday morning, Keith. And wasn't too long ago you were waking up on this Super Bowl Sunday.
I know. I can't believe it. It's Super Bowl 55, and I played in Super Bowl 31. So time flies. It seems like Super Bowl 31 morning to me. It's a national holiday unofficially in the United States, Super Bowl Sunday, and not just the United States. In the whole wide world, everybody around the world watches this game. You don't watch any football game all year, you will certainly watch this Super Bowl.
Yeah, and due to a little tech issues, we are live on Facebook. So head to Facebook and search ESPN Dayton. You can jump in there. Twitter at 1410 Kenner or at ESPN Dayton at KAB. What's your Twitter? KAB
40. KAB 41.
There you go. What was that number? Why was that number significant to you?
When I got to college, and that's what I had 44 in high school. Fifth year senior had it, but no, we got to change numbers. So 41 stuck, and that's why.
All right, again, I'm Justin Kenner. He's Keith Byars. We're live out here at Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall, talking all things Super Bowl 55 again. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be coming up here later on tonight. We're live at Frickers. We're going to step away for a few moments. When we come back, we're going to have our picks around the corner, but we're just going to break down this matchup. And Keith's going to share memories from what it was like waking up on Super Bowl Sunday morning as a player. And now we're out in Boston. You're hanging out with me.
I don't know. My winter beard on and everything.
All right, we'll be back in a moment. The Sunday Morning Tailgate Show live from Frickers when we come back.
love. And one of the best ways to share all the reasons why you love them is by telling them with a Hallmark card.
I love that you can always find a silver lining.
I love how you get the best hugs.
I love your smile when you think you're being sneaky.
This Valentine's Day, celebrate all the people you love and all the things that make them who they are with a Hallmark card. Valentine's Day is Sunday, February 14th. Find a card for everyone in your heart wherever Hallmark cards are sold, because love is for all.
Napa know-how.
Getting $20 back when you buy a Napa Legend premium battery is a win-win. Getting it from the best car people around is a win-win-win. Getting it before you're stranded somewhere, that's a win-win-win-win. Save $20 when you get a Napa Legend premium battery. And if that sounds like a lot of wins, you're right. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores and Napa Auto Care Centers while supplies last. Offer ends 2/28/21.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely, like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
All sports. All the time. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
1, 2, 3.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner with you here live on this Sunday morning, Super Bowl Sunday, live here in Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. I'm Justin Kinner alongside the broadcast partner, Keith Byars. And, well, Keith, you're no stranger to Super Bowl Sunday. And let me ask you, you didn't get to a Super Bowl until later in your career. Was there ever a point in your career as you got later in it that you were fearing, man, you would never get a chance to play in one?
Well, you always hold out hope every year. This is going to be our year. This is going to be our year. And I felt that way, every year of my career. It took me a year 11 and 13 to make sure that came true. And it gets to be, sometimes disappointing when you don't make it, especially when you finally make playoffs and now you're eligible for the Super Bowl. But it is a really lifelong dream come true when you make it all work well, whatever happens, whether it happens, the first game of the season, first year of your career, your last year. You want it to happen, and a lot of people play the majority of their careers, it never happens.
And then when you finally, punch your ticket to get there, I mean, you've shared the story before about how emotional that was for you, especially to get there so late. When you talk about guys, I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes, who's only his third year in the league, or fourth year technically, but third year as the starter, already playing in his second Super Bowl in year 3 of his career. You had to wait so long. Did it mean more to you because you got there so late in your career? Not saying you wouldn't have loved to get there earlier in your career, but did it mean just that much more because you, as long as you were in the league, got there so much further into your career?
Well, it definitely meant more because, when you're 11 or 13-year career, you're not sure you're going to get a 12th year or a 13th year. Like it's either now or never. And so, I wouldn't say desperation. You're like, guys, you don't take it for granted. And when you're early in your career, Pat Mahomes, when he's in year 4, he's already in his second Super Bowl. I wouldn't say he's taking it for granted, but it seems to be expected. And, you get used to that kind of success. But before, Dan Marino was in that same position. He went to the Super Bowl, had a good rookie year, made the playoffs. never made it back to another Super Bowl in 17 years. You know, I think about all the great players that played this game for years, 101 years in NFL history. Numerous great players never played in the Super Bowl. And, you know, so, you know, what do you do? I mean, a player like Mark Moon, you know, never got to a Super Bowl Hall of Fame career. And then you get somebody like Jim Kelly, played in 4 Super Bowls. You told him he was going to come up over 4. He would have never believed it. So Super Bowl Sunday is always a special time, you know, reflection. You know, even if my good friend Cornelius Bennett, he played in 5 Super Bowls. You know, 4 with the Buffalo Bills, 1 with the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, he doesn't have a Super Bowl championship ring, but when you talk to him, he said he doesn't regret any one of those 5 Super Bowls. He wants to, you know, he would, you know, do it all over again. So I would switch with him. You know, I was fortunate to play in 1, but I would have loved to play in 5. Whether you win them or not, you want to have that opportunity. So today, all the players in Tampa Bay, all the players in Kansas City, you know, they will have an appreciation for it. Even a player like Rob Gronkowski, he's been in numerous Super Bowls, won them. But hey, there's always room for one more.
Now, Super Bowl Sunday morning, the players, they wake up early this morning. Do you remember what, from the time you opened your eyes on Super Bowl Sunday, the season that you played in the Super Bowl, what was that Sunday morning like for you? Not the week leading into it, not the previous games. That Sunday morning, you open your eyes, you look around your hotel room or wherever you were. It's Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, I better been in the hotel room.
Yeah.
We've had this story a whole lot of other Super Bowls.
But what was that morning like? Yeah.
You know, I think that was good. We was in New Orleans. I was at the Patriots, you know, playing against Green Bay in Super Bowl 31. And Bill Parcells, I thought, did a really good job of preparing the team, even though there was a whole bunch of noise outside it, you know, as the standings going. We tried to make it as normal as possible. We stayed, you know, on pre-pandemic Super Bowls, you would get there on Sunday before the Super Bowl. So you spent a whole week in that city. And that's what we did, a whole week in New Orleans. But then Saturday night, the people persisted if it was a regular season game or a regular season playoff game, you know, we switched hotels. So the hotel we've been staying in all week, you know, we switched the hotel like we would normally if it was in a road game. And so we went to a different hotel. So you waking up on morning, similar to waking up on the road, you know, regular season game on the road morning, to try to simulate it, to try to keep you in a normal atmosphere in a totally abnormal situation, because everybody in the world is watching this one game. It's a game for all the marbles. So waking up on Super Bowl morning, you know, I was just waking up on Christmas morning as a kid. I was so excited, you know, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed about what was going to happen, you know, today. And being in New Orleans, Central Standard Time, you know, we had to wait till, you know, 5 o'clock to play. I want to play now. I want to wake up and get it over. So I've been waking up, going down for breakfast. You know, it was like the smiles on our faces, like, man, you know, it's something big. So it was excitement in the air, you know, in the Patriots hotel that morning. We couldn't wait to get to the stadium, you know, to play the football game.
All right, Justin Kinner, Keith Byars with you here on this Super Bowl Sunday morning. It's our Sunday morning tailgate show, live here from Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. We've basically been here all football season. This is our final Sunday morning tailgate show of the season. We look forward to doing this show. Yeah, no kidding. I can't believe it's already Super Bowl Sunday. And the thing is, we're about to wrap up this season later today. And, you know, earlier in the week, we had ESPN Radio's Freddie Coleman on. And one thing we discussed was if you had to give a grade to the NFL for how they navigated through this season, what would that grade be, Keith? Because it's one thing to say, well, if they got a Super Bowl champion, that means they completed the season. That's an A+. Is it as simple as that? To the NFL, what grade would you give them for how they navigated through this NFL season during this global pandemic?
Well, that's a tough question, because when you're thinking going back to high school, you're in your math class or science class, and you got an A, C, D, E, F, whatever it was, you had something to measure up against what an A paper looks like. This is what a B paper looks like. But we've never been in a pandemic before, so it's really hard to judge, you know, the NFL on that. You know, they're, you know, trailblazing. You know, if something like this ever happens again, hopefully never, but you'll have some, you know, we could be in the same pandemic in another, you know, 8 months from now, 7 months from now. We don't know. But all that being said, I would have to give the NFL, you know, breaking the grounds, I would have to give them a B. if we're still in the pandemic come fall, now we have something to measure against. How'd you do last year? What are you making different as opposed to this year? And so that being said, I take my hats off. Looks like we can get 16 games, barring anything catastrophic. It's going to happen, in a few hours. But so kudos to them. You're up against something we really don't know. So I'll give you a sight unseen.
All right, again, Super Bowl Sunday today, and that's the thing too. I also said, I think at the end of the day, you look at this situation, and you have the two teams. You have the two teams that everyone pretty much expected to. You expected Kansas, and anything can happen. There's so many good teams out there. Wouldn't it surprise me to see Green Bay get here? Wouldn't it surprise me to see the Seahawks with Russell Wilson get here? But these were the two main teams, especially when you had Tom Brady, who left New England and headed towards Tampa in the offseason, and of course Kansas City winning the Super Bowl last year, extending the contract of Patrick Mahomes and basically extending the contract of all their major weapons. These are the two teams we expected to see here. Kevin and I discussed earlier in the week is if the teams you expected to get here didn't get here because they had to miss time due to COVID, you would feel like you got slighted. But I think what's going for the NFL is that the two faces of the NFL and Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, or Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, however you want to word it, they're going head-to-head. This is the ideal Super Bowl, even on a regular year with no pandemic. So the NFL feels pretty good about the way it navigated through. And basically, they didn't miss one game. Every game got played that was supposed to be played, outside of a few hiccups with how they handled the Browns and even the Ravens and some other teams throughout the year. I think the NFL did about as good a job as you can do, but I still think the NBA has handled it better than any other league as far as navigating through this pandemic.
Well, yeah, but the NBA, you could play that in a bubble, like when they had the NBA Finals, all the playoff teams, met in Atlanta and got it in. But one of the reasons why we love the NFL, like other major sports out there, is that your team can go from worst to first and be in the Super Bowl. Just that in that season, you heard this countless times. I'll say it like a broken record. If you want to have a good regular season, you have to start off having a good off season. Tampa had a tremendous off season last year. Last year they weren't in the playoffs, weren't on anybody's radar. They're talking about, Jameis Winston, 30 for 30, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to let him go in this direction? They're bringing Tom Brady. They bring in Gronkowski. They bring in Antonio Brown. They made all the right moves during the off season. The coaching staff has been impeccable. I don't think they've got enough credit. Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich, as an offensive coordinator, they've done a tremendous job in Tampa. So, if anything, it's surprising that Tampa's in the Super Bowl. Not so much as defending Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. But that's, one end of the spectrum, the Super Bowl champions trying to defend their crown. I wouldn't call it, well, I guess Tampa would be an upstart. Even though they won in the past, but based on last year's performance, they wouldn't in the playoffs. They're going from the bottom to the top. At 2 or 3 years, that's when there's hope for all other 30 NFL teams watching. Hey, this could be us next year. It could be us next year. In that Super Bowl. If it would have took even money or any kind of money on Tampa this time last year, Super Bowl Sunday, nobody said Tampa's going to be Super Bowl 55. We may have that same story Super Bowl 56. We saw this team coming. I would be surprised.
Absolutely, and I think the other thing to think of too, and I had someone ask me this earlier in the week, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they added Gronkowski, they added Antonio Brown, they added Leonard Fournette. You look at those three, and you're like, oh man, and then you add that with Tom Brady, and it's like, well, it's no wonder that Tampa Bay is here in the Super Bowl. But Gronkowski, the only thing he's been able to provide is availability. I think he was third in catches, about 45 catches during the regular season. He's been a good stable force for the
He's been a heck of a blocker.
And a
decoy.
When the Browns signed, they paid all that money to get him. Then people looked at his stats and said, "Oh, they overpaid to get him." I'm like, look, the Browns had the number one blocking offensive line in football for a reason. It wasn't just because the guys up front. It was because of Hooper. Hooper was signed mainly because of his ability to be one of the best blocking tight ends in football. But that's what Gronk brings to the table for the Bucs. But Keith, Antonio Brown doesn't come into the halfway point, and Leonard Fournette really didn't get in any kind of groove at all for the Bucs. This is basically the same roster as last year, except you change quarterbacks. The job Tom Brady has done, that's all anyone's talking about. When you hear people say this is basically the same roster as last year, your thoughts on that? Because it basically is. The defense is pretty much the same. The offense is a lot of the same key weapons. And the new additions didn't make that much. For that, for instance, doesn't say that you go from not in the playoffs to Gronk's way or not in the playoffs to the Super Bowl. Is it as simple as, oh, yeah, you drop Tom Brady in there to replace James, and that's why they're here?
Well, Denzel Washington has a movie out called The Little Things, and that is the difference. It's the little things, that you described that's been the difference in this ball Tampa Bay club. They've taken care of the little things that makes them playing on this day. We talk about it all throughout the season. You've heard me quote many times. 75% of games on Sunday are decided by 7 points or less. So it's the little things that you do. Excuse me, something in my throat.
Okay. But yeah, the little things that you talk about.
It's the little things that you do that makes your record 10-6 or 6-10. When you win the Browns were 0-16, we looked over those games. They didn't get beat out 16 games. They only had about 4 or 5 blowouts, but the other 10, 11 games, it could have went either way, just went the other way. That's what Tampa has done this year. They've turned it around and got themselves in the position. I mean, you look at Kansas City Chiefs. They have 2 losses on their schedule. But they played a few games that could have went either way. There's little things that made them go on and have success. So there is hope for every team in the NFL. I mean, if the Bengals get healthy next year, Burrow's come back 100% and he improves. Offensive line, the Bengals could very easily be a 8, 9, 10 game win season or 11 win team this year. If they take care of little things, we can go over the roster, but you don't have time today. To 2020, and we can find things they could have done it. They could have improved at least by 3 or 4 games. So that's the thing to focus on. That's what successful teams do anyway. They take care of the little things and make them so well. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were 11-0 and they got away with murder. But those last 6 games of the season, they were not that same team in 11 games.
And that's what's fascinating is that, again, during the week, it got into a debate with fans about the impact of Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick back with their time in New England. And right away, I don't know why people keep going back to this. It's driving me up the wall.
It's trying to drive between the two. You can't do it.
Tom Brady is on the team that's in a win now mode, and you have Bill Belichick who is with what was left, he's heading into not just a rebuilding situation, but a situation 7 to 8 players opt out. This isn't a team with fair, and then what people will respond with is, well, he's the general manager, he's responsible for that. Again, they're rebuilding. That's what this whole thing was about anyways. Moving on from Tom Brady, there was no urgency to get some of those veteran players to pressure them into playing during a pandemic. They traded away their first-round pick to be able to move back to get additional picks. And with the thinking of, if you lose enough games, you'll be in line to get a good quality quarterback in the draft. And it looks like they might get that. Mac Jones is rumored to be who they're targeting. They could be looking at Sam Darnold. They're one of the teams looking at the Jets, although the Jets will not move on from Sam Darnold within the division. I just don't get why people are so obsessed and say, oh, Steve Brady is why he's there. I think it was Edelman that said, well, Brady was the Patriot way. That's why the Patriots are not in the playoffs. That's why Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl.
No, it was Amendola said that.
Who did I say?
Edelman.
Edelman won't say that. My bad. Amendola said. So. Aye. All right, we're going to step away for a few moments. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Keith Byars, live here from Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Hall. We've opened up, of course, breaking down the Super Bowl 55 matchup between the Chiefs and the Bucs. The Chiefs 3-point favorites as we currently sit here right now. But I'm going to tell you why coming up. I mean, I'm telling you I'm picking the Bucs. I'm going to tell you why I'm picking the Bucs coming up here in just a little bit. Keith will tell you who he's picking. But I think that we're so infatuated with the new toy in Patrick Mahomes that we're not paying attention to the deepest team right now. We'll discuss that on the other side of the break. More of the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show next.
for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Spending more time at home? There has never been a better time to invest in your home. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. Can't get to the big game? No problem. Audio Etc. can bring any game home. It's better than being there. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc. today and experience 8K TVs and projectors. Surround sound? You haven't heard surround sound till you hear Dolby Atmos 360 degrees. Put you smack dab in the middle with 11.2 channel surround sound. Audio Etc. has the brands, the deals, and the excitement. Audio Etc. powered by Klipsch, Byars and Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. Stop by and experience the crazy cool showroom, the top brands, excellent service, and knowledgeable staff. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom.
First Florist and Greenhouses, the official florist of ESPN 1410 WING. Order your Valentine's Day bouquet now at 937-223-1213 or online at firsttheflorist.com. FURST, First Florist and Greenhouses.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Dayton Flyers basketball fans, don't miss Talking Out Loud with Sully every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Game recaps, game previews, visits from former Flyer greats, and more. It's a show by the fans, for the fans. Talking Out Loud with Sully, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Wear red and be loud. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kenner. He's Keith Byars. Keith Byars will pop back in here in just a moment. First of all, I'm on this diet right now. I'm on this diet. I can only have 2,000 calories a day, and I'm eating toast in the morning just to have something, just to be able to get me through the day. And then I'm like, but I can't have much at lunch because I got to make sure I have a lot of calories left for the Super Bowl. I tell this to Keith, and do you think that he says, "Oh, I'll go light too, so I don't eat in front of you"? No, he orders this gigantic slab of ribs. I mean, he's already halfway through the slab of ribs. I'm not even jealous. I'm happy for it. I'm happy for everybody that is just about to devour some great food today for Super Bowl Sunday. Frickers has a fantastic menu. Dine in or carry out. Whether you're dining in to come watch the Super Bowl later on this afternoon, or if you're looking for a great spread to take home, Frickers is the place to call and get your order in, and you can take it home. Again, for those who aren't comfortable going out, that is totally fine. Dine in, or you can call ahead, order your food, and bring it home. I'm Justin Kenner with Keith Byars, Sunday Morning Tailgate Show, our final Sunday Morning Tailgate Show of this season. We will be back in the fall live here from Frickers in 741 by the Dayton Mall. like we do every single Sunday morning. So we're excited about that. But we got into, again, starting to break down this matchup between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. And, again, Keith will pop in here in just a few moments. But, when I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and I'm listening to all the playoff coverage, here's how the playoff coverage is being broken down. You got the new toy and Patrick Mahomes, who everyone is just infatuated with. Everyone loves Patrick Mahomes for the time being. And then there's not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's Tom Brady. We're not talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're talking about Tom Brady. We're talking about Tom Brady's legacy. We're talking about, is Tom Brady the greatest winner of all time? Is he the greatest quarterback of all time? We're talking Tom Brady. We haven't talked about Tampa. We haven't talked about the football team. The football team itself is not getting a lot of respect. They're not getting a lot of attention. It's all about Tom Brady. And you could understand why. He's a guy that's playing in his 10th Super Bowl. If they win coming up later on this evening, it'll be his 7th overall Super Bowl. I mean, the feat is fantastic, and he's doing the majority of this in his 40s, at least on the back half of this. Going for potential number 7 Super Bowl-wise, it would be his 3rd since, turning 40. It's unbelievable what he's doing. But it's the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes against Tom Brady. That's how this is being built. And I'm telling you now, I think the one reason everyone feels so comfortable going with the Chiefs is because everyone's comparing them a lot to the Golden State Warriors. Keith, good to pop back in? Yeah. All right. Everyone keeps comparing this team to the Golden State Warriors. All right, the Golden State Warriors in the NBA. They had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. They were just unstoppable, right? I mean, you couldn't stop them. So I keep hearing that comparison a lot to this Kansas City Chiefs team. The problem is I don't think that comparison is accurate at all. I agree that the Golden State Warriors were untouchable. They were unstoppable. I don't look at this Chiefs team and think they're unstoppable. In fact, if Garoppolo, who many deem is a very average quarterback a season ago, if Garoppolo just completes one pass in last year's Super Bowl, they're Super Bowl champions. We're talking about the Niners this season. If Garoppolo connects on that pass, all right, the Niners win that Super Bowl, and we're talking about Patrick Mahomes pursuing his first Super Bowl. I don't think that this team is unbeatable. My point about the going to the Niners thing, Keith, was that this Chiefs team is not unstoppable. I like the Niners. Their defense was awesome. Their offense was okay. But, and again, when you're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, if an average quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo can nearly beat this team, I'm pretty sure Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can do it. I think the Chiefs are great. I just think Tampa has way too many weapons that we're not talking about.
Well, you know how I feel about quarterback wins and losses in football. But it's teams that win and teams that lose. I totally agree with you. Last year's Super Bowl certainly could have won either way. And that's the kind of Super Bowl I'm hoping for this year. The last 5 to 6 minutes of the game, one team needs the defense to stop, another one needs to score. Who comes down to make the plays and you don't make the plays. Last year, Kansas City made the plays. And so who's going to make the plays in this Super Bowl is to be determined. And I mean, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, I was talking to one last night, you got to kick yourself. If you'd have played anywhere in the first half, this could be a Browns Super Bowl. That's how close they came beating, Kansas City, that we always talk, is a 60-minute game, not a 30-minute game. So Cleveland only played 30, Kansas City played 60. So with this being all that being said, this Tampa team, they're not going to quit. They're going to play hard for 60 minutes. And if Kansas City, it's almost like a trap game because you go back to the game you played earlier, Kansas City had their ways with them. You had Tyreek Hill doing backflips in the end zone. Nobody stopped us except us. And you have that sense of superiority instead of doing the little things. That little things is going to be the difference in this ball game. On paper, everything says Kansas City. And if Kansas City goes out there and takes care of this, do all the little things right, they're going to win the game. I don't think Tampa has enough. They have experience. The majority of their experience is in 2 or 3 players. Whereas Kansas City, they have recent experience, especially from the majority of their roster being defending champions. So they've been there before. But this game, I think Kansas City's biggest problem is going to be themselves. And you got to try to overcome history. I think it's only 16, and NFL history is a repeat out of 55 Super Bowls. And so it is really hard to repeat. Green Bay with Bart Starr, they back-to-back. Miami Dolphins, the Steelers did it twice, the Cowboys, in San Francisco. It's hard, very hard. So that's what Kansas City gets off.
Yeah, and you talk about how tough it is to go back-to-back. Tom Brady's potentially fighting for his 7th Super Bowl championship coming up later on tonight. During his first 6 Super Bowls, Keith, only 2 of those have come. Only one time have they won back-to-back Super Bowls. So as great as the Patriots have been, as great as Tom Brady has been for going on 2 decades now, they have only won back-to-back Super Bowls once. You talked about, I mean, as far as the weapons go, though, you hear about the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line that's banged up. They're shorthanded as far as offensive line is concerned, and then you start looking at the pass rushers. You look at, for one, the linebackers and Devin White and some of these guys for the Bucs are fantastic, but you start looking up front, and Ndamukong Suh and Shaq Barrett. A lot of these guys have just been, big-time guys that have been able to make an impact for the Buccaneers. I think they're going to play a role in this too. And Patrick Mahomes, and the run game is not solid. It's not very good for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think you need a run game in a game like today where you're going to come out and try to slow it down. You're not going to come out and just try to throw it all over the place. Plus, the Buccaneers defense, one of the top pass defenses in the NFL too. I just think this has all the makings of a close one down the stretch. I did predict that the Bucs would win by double digits, not a blowout, but I did predict by 10. I think the Bucs win this by 10. I know Ron's here, by the way. I'm sure Schlemmer, who's tuning in, by the way. Ron's here, Schlemmer, so he said to tell you hello. But here's some of the comments we're getting on Facebook, Keith. We're live there. Mark Schlemmer says, betting against Tom Brady is like betting against Mother Nature. You won't win. That might be a jab at me. Like, every time I go to Florida, I always seem to go at the worst times. Like, windstorms, hurricanes. Schlemmer also says that everyone is forgetting about Tampa's defense. They are pretty solid. Yes, the defense, too, is why we're not talking enough about them. Kansas City's defense isn't bad. They're not terrible. But I think Tampa's offense is just as explosive, if not more. Keith, look at Tom Brady's numbers. He is known as –
Let me say something real quick on Tampa's defense. They have taken the ball away from their opponents with the last 5 or 6 games. Some of those have been, turnover and touchdowns right away. So that gets to be contagious. So that's what they picked off Aaron Rodgers, outstanding interception against them. They turned them over. They're certainly turn over Patrick Mahomes, and he has had a tendency to overtrust his arm too much. I think I can fit it in there. And he throws tight windows. Look for Tampa Bay. You're going to take advantage of that.
457, go to Facebook, or we're on Twitter at ESPN Dayton, or at 1410 Kenner, at KAB40 or 41. You can jump in on the conversation on social media, but we're live on Facebook. Head to ESPN Dayton's Facebook page, and you can jump into the chat section. Ron Howard, who is live out here, is also jumping in on the Facebook conversation, says, plus having 30,000 fans in the stands. I know that it's technically it's not technically, it's supposed to be neutral. The Bucs are the first team to ever play a Super Bowl on their home field. Yes, there's 30,000 fans, but there won't be 30,000 Bucs fans. This isn't like it's a home field advantage for the Bucs. Do you believe there's a home field advantage for the Bucs, Keith?
Slight, because they get to pick their own beds. It's not going to. They didn't have to get on a plane and fly to the NFL city. They're very familiar. They get practice where they would normally practice. When you're the host city. Usually that host city team had to give their football facilities because they use that as a practice facility. I remember in Miami, we lost, and San Diego Chargers at the time went to that Super Bowl in San Francisco, and they were in our locker room. Yeah, that was very hurt. Like, man, they didn't came in our house, took advantage of our facilities. You get to be territorial. So Tampa didn't have that, so they have a slight advantage, even though it's only 30,000, fans in the stands. It's still. It's more than just a game. They have somewhat of an advantage, but can they take advantage of it?
The other thing throughout this week, too, a lot of Tampa fans are not happy because the cannon is such a staple of that home field for them, too. Every time they score a touchdown, they fire the cannon. And I shared a story with everyone this week.
They don't get a cannon.
Like, remember the Wayne games when you and I do high school football? Yeah. It's not a good situation for me. I literally get so afraid that sometimes weird things happen when I get afraid. Like, it's that scary when that damn cannon goes off and you're not expecting it at Wayne football games. But the Bucs, they have that cannon. They said they were going to take the cannon away because they don't want to have a home field advantage for the Bucs. And I'm thinking, but Keith, does a cannon really give them home field advantage? And why couldn't you? Because, again, you're trying to show off the stadium that you're playing the Super Bowl in. Why wouldn't you just say, okay, I tell you what, because the cannon is a part of the stadium, it's a staple of the stadium, how about when every team scores, we fire the cannon? When the Chiefs score, they can get a cannon fired.
No, that's like a couple years ago when the Eagles was in the Super Bowl, and they was in Minnesota. Who was the Viking horn? Whether the Vikings winning again, who was because each home city going to extra highlight your city? You know, you don't do that. No. So you know, I think people forget when you hosting, the NFL is the host city of your stadium. It's not Tampa Stadium. The NFL runs everything, you know, in that stadium. So they're just using your facility, but it's not a Tampa host committee. It's the NFL host committee comes in and run everything. They're running it through Tampa this year.
But what's it hurting? If you're on the opposing team, are you really going to be that upset if the cannon?
Yeah, that's what I feel. That's how I feel.
How about this?
If they score a touchdown, they don't want to hear no cannon.
How about this? Don't let them score. How about that?
But if you're a home team and there's some cannons off and the other team score, you'd be like, wait a minute, that's our deal. You don't get to hear no cannons when they score. It's disrespecting our house.
Bottom line is there's fans, 30,000 fans going to be at the
But if it was in Philadelphia, my school would be totally different.
Oh, absolutely. What is a staple?
Oh,
there we go.
Yeah. Still screaming out.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, this season, Minnesota had a good chance to play on their home field. On their home stadium. And that's the season, obviously, you just talked about. They beat the Patriots with Nick Foles at quarterback and the Eagles. Speaking of that, I mean, a lot of Carson Wentz, real quick before we step away, we're going to have our final score predictions coming up here in just what time we got? 12:30. So here in about 15 minutes, Keith and I will give you our final score predictions. But while we're talking about the Eagles real quick, we've already seen a big trade in the NFL. I refuse to call it a blockbuster. I do like Matthew Stafford, but I don't think that his name or Jared Goff's name is big enough to warrant calling it a blockbuster. We need to stop calling it a blockbuster. And Carson Wentz, you know, everyone's calling it a blockbuster trade potentially on the way. I don't think that's a blockbuster trade either, but there are teams interested, and it sounds like it could be the Chicago Bears, Keith, that end up with Carson Wentz here this week, that a trade should be done in the next couple of days, according to ESPN NFL sources.
Well, I also heard Indianapolis in that equation.
Where would you rather go?
Well, I would rather stay in Philadelphia and play some good football. We don't have to worry about that. I mean, you know, the Eagles have had quarterback stability for the last 40-plus years until now. You know, so this is uncharted territory for me being an Eagle, you know, fan. We usually know who our quarterback is going to be for the next, you know, 10-plus years. And when we drafted Carson Wentz, you know, especially early in his career, it looked like trending that way again for his stability even on the quarterback position. But, wow. You know, so if he's going to leave, I think the reports that I'm hearing from my insiders, I think it's time for a change of scenery, you know, for Carson Wentz. I didn't think I would be saying that 4 months ago. But, you know, here I am today saying it. That being said, you know, he's from North Dakota State, so Chicago's not far from North Dakota. Used to the cold weather, born in Wendy's. So, you know, go to Chicago.
Some are saying it might be a mistake for Philly because if all of a sudden he turns it around, it's going to be a bad look for Philly. Here's why I think it's kind of smart of Philly to move on from him. They're potentially going to get some first-round picks. They're going to get some quality players in return for him. And if you are the Eagles, you are risking if you keep him for one more season and he repeats the performance from last year, and then you try to trade him a year from now, you're not going to get the return a year from now. Because by trading him a year from now, that means he's had the same repeated performance from this past season. The value for him is not going to be there. I think right now, if you're going to trade him, it makes sense just because of peak return. I don't know if you get that peak return.
Well, it's the NFL, and all it takes is one. If you do that time last year, you're going to get more from Matthew Stafford. You know, if Matthew Stafford for you two number ones and a number three, and a starting quarterback, a scoring number one, who would make that deal? That's the only blockbuster mark that blockbuster deal. Somebody that blocked enough, you know, to give Detroit all that in return. So hey, why not? Who knows?
Now, more reports coming out this morning. The saga in Houston with Deshaun Watson continues as we keep feeling like we're getting closer and closer to them moving on from him. They're doubling down. They've come out, the Houston Texans have come out and announced that they are insisting that they refuse to trade him, that they are not going to trade Deshaun Watson. I know that everyone right now thinks that Deshaun Watson has the leverage here, but I keep looking at the Texans and saying I think they have the leverage because at a certain point, he has to show up to work or he's going to be losing millions and millions of dollars. He's going to be fined on a daily basis. And the Texans are looking at it as, we're not going to win this year with you. So we're not going to win without you. So we might as well not trade you and stick it to him. That's what this is starting to look like. They're purposely not going to trade him because if they wanted to care about rebuilding for the future, they would try to work this out peacefully. And it looks like it's a little back and forth here. I think that the Texans, when they say that they have no intention of trading him, Keith, I kind of believe them. Because they could trade him a year from now and still get the same first and second round picks that they were going to get this year. I could see Houston playing hardball with Deshaun Watson and really kind of putting his back against the wall heading into the season.
Well, I think we need to get Deshaun Watson this show and say, hey, man, let's have a good old roundtable conversation about why you leave Houston or what would it take to make you stay in. You know, you want to keep the face of your franchise happy. You know, not that one player is bigger than the other, but the way the system is set up, I think, you know, he has all the cards here in Deshaun Watson's pocket right now. You want to win. You are a winning player. You've proven that. And, you know, you're young in your career. He wants to have the same success as Pat Mahomes. You know, like, Pat is, you know, has that kind of love and support in Kansas City and weapons around him. That's what I was hoping to build here in Houston. But apparently not. They get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. What was the reason behind that? Get rid of that coach, general manager, bring it out. Hey, you don't need to consult me. You know, we're not getting better. And then if you get better, you get worse. They're getting worse. They went from the playoffs last year to outweigh, you know, they're top 10 pick this year. You know, you want to be surrounded about winners, not just on the field, on and off the field. And you just, like I talked earlier about, if you want to have a good record season, it starts in the off season. The Texans off season are well into a month. They're not off to a good start. They need to straighten this out right away and not let this linger for 2 or 3 months. It's February. Let's have this wrapped up in the next week or two so you can start getting ready for the March of the free agents. Get ready for April for the draft. Go to OTAs in June and July, you know, training camp. Get focused. September is right around the corner. Preseason, I'm going to this last wrapping up, doing our show, but the team's been out of playoffs since December. Houston, you've been knowing your season over since November, October, by Halloween. Get on one accord. If you want to be playing this Sunday next year or have an opportunity to be in the playoffs, y'all need to straighten up y'all stuff right now and get it done in the next week to 10 days. And, you know, turn the page on 2020. It's over. It's 2021. Otherwise, we'll be having this conversation again. You don't want to be a top 10 pick next year, but you're trending that way right now by having disharmony in your front office.
I'm not denying any of the downfalls of the Texans, especially going back over the last year and a half. I think with Deshaun Watson, everyone keeps looking at him saying, well, you knew all these things. You knew that this was going downhill quickly. Why did you sign such a big contract with them a year ago?
Who would sign that for the third quarter?
But if you're Deshaun Watson, you know you're going to get that money somewhere. So if you opt out of the Texans, but you can't tell people that, oh, this is so miserable here, but yet you just signed a contract. And I guess when he came out to the media last year after signing the deal, saying Houston's the best city to live in, that he loves this team, his teammates are his brothers and his family, and that he would never want to play anywhere else. And then here we are. But you made a good point. Things in the NFL, they change quickly, but that's what's working. The optics work against him in this for that reason. People holding that against theirs. It's not as if they were really good when he signed, and then since they signed him, they got rid of all these pieces. They were in the midst of messing this up a year ago, and he signed that huge extension right before. But I'm with you. It's a lot of money to turn down.
I'm not turning it down. You know, but DeAndre Hopkins don't grow on trees. You know, even though every year, you know, the draft seems to be getting richer and richer in wide receiver talent. But, guys, it's more than wide receivers. You need to put everything, you know, around your weapons. Like you said, Kansas City's running game isn't that strong, but it's running back by committee. You know, take some pressure off of Pat Mahomes. You know, he has top 2 or 3 tight end in the NFL in Kelsey. You know, who's Deshaun Watson tight end? Don't worry, I'll wait. Who's his best weapon to throw the ball to? Who's this running back trying to hit the ball to? All that's in Deshaun Watson's face. You know, you have the platform right now to stand up on it and use it and wield your strength. You know, you don't have power. you don't realize you have power. You'll never get it. Deshaun Watson has power right now, and he has to, you know, and get his stuff out of the situation. You know, when other players have power, i.e. Brett Favre, you know, he had Green Bay by the short hairs many a time. And they was like, come on, Brett. You know, he was trying to stunt Aaron Rodgers' career. And so when Brett comes out, you know, chirping about all this crap now, that just pisses me off. I'll talk more about that more on my show tomorrow.
Keith on a Sunday morning. I like it.
Yeah, enjoy the power.
All right, folks, it's the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show, live here from Flickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. Keith is cursing on a Sunday of all days. I mean, my goodness. All right, we'll step away. We have our Super Bowl 55 predictions coming up on the other side, as well as our score predictions, too. We have that coming up. Don't go anywhere. Head to Facebook, head to ESPN Dayton's Facebook page, and leave your score predictions, and we'll read your score predictions live here on the air and bring you into the live video feed as well. We'll be back in just a moment.
Reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
Your Sunday game plan deserves the big taste of Milano's Pizza, Subs, and Wings. Order online now or call direct for Sunday pickup or delivery. MilanoSubs.com. Make your Sunday game plan now. MilanoSubs.com.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to assist veterans during this COVID-19 pandemic. Even though we are not meeting face-to-face, we are here for you. We understand it is a difficult time with this virus threat and the strain of implementing social distancing. For those Montgomery County veterans who have lost their source of income due to their employers having to close or reduce their business hours due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you may be eligible for COVID-19 special financial relief assistance. Please contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday for more information or to have an application sent to you. You can also visit mcvsc.org. The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to help Montgomery County veterans during the COVID-19 crisis. Call 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday or visit them online at mcvsc.org.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers for home daily dedicated lanes. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody or apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
1410 ESPN Radio is Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes on the hardwood. Football may be over, but basketball is just heating up. Support Chris Holtman and his Buckeyes as they battle it out in the toughest conference in all of college basketball, the Big Ten. Every dribble, every shot, every Buckeyes win. Catch it all right here on ESPN 1410 Ring AM. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. I'm Justin Kenner. He's Keith Byars, and we are live here from Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall, bringing you our Sunday morning tailgate show. And we had some tech issues to start, and we had to be creative. And, we went live over Facebook, which now we're going live over the air at the same time. Brandon back in the studio did a kick-ass job of being able to navigate through this. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in and hanging out with us here on this morning, the Super Bowl Sunday morning. Keith, you played in the Super Bowl. You know how special today is. I mean, you go through the grind of the offseason and the workouts and everything. You go through the grind of the regular season to get to this point. And these players, that's what they're fighting for every single season. You know how special today is from a fan's perspective and from playing in it. Just your closing thoughts before we get to our predictions on how big today's game actually is. Is this the best championship game of all sports out there?
Yes. It's not the World Series, but best 4 out of 7. NBA Finals, best 4 out of 7. Hockey, 4 out of 7. This is the best of one. You win the game or you lose the game, and your fate rests. I mean, how you go down in history is going to be remembered off this one game. How you do in this one game, and I still remember Super Bowl week. How many years ago was that? 23 years ago. Parcells asked me, "You gonna be tired? I'm gonna have to spill you in this game." I said, "Bill, are you out of your mind? I've been playing this game, since I can ever remember. Every time when I was a little kid playing backyard football, it was a Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl. I can't wait for Super Bowl Sunday. So waking up Super Bowl Sunday, finally having an opportunity, all my lifetime dreams coming true, playing in the Super Bowl, just unbelievable. And this Sunday, I'll never forget. One of my guys I played with in Miami, he had played for Washington, and I was asking him, "What's it like Super Bowl morning, man?" He said, "Man, you come out of that locker room, the tunnel, knowing the whole world is watching you." He said, "Man, that's feeling, just unbelievable. You got to do it one of these days." Then a few years later, I had that opportunity. I remember coming out of the Patriots locker room, running on the field at the Superdome, and it was almost as if the first time I come out of Ohio Stadium, running across the field. It's just a great, great feeling. And yes, we didn't win the football game, but that's the different part of the story. Playing the Super Bowl Sunday is brings your dreams come true. And it won't be a Super Bowl ever in my life where I won't ever think about Super Bowl 31. And I'm surprised I meant to wear my ring this morning. I was rushing out. So I have my AFC Championship ring, which symbolizes you played in the Super Bowl. And so I'm probably going to put it on later in the day. I hardly ever wear it, so I may put it on later in the day and just look at it while I watch the game.
All right, it's time for our Super Bowl score predictions. Again, live here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM. Ron predicted, he's a Bucs fan, and I hope I remember this correctly. Ron predicted that the Bucs were going to win 38-34 over the Chiefs.
That's what he said.
Keith, your prediction for tonight's game is what?
Oh, man. My head and my heart says Kansas City. My gut says Tampa Bay. So I'm going to go with my head, and I'm going to go with Kansas City. Hopefully, I think Kansas City's going to win this game by 10 or more points. But I would like to see it come down the last 6 minutes of the game. Offense needs to score. Defense needs to stop. And they're the best to win. So that being said, I know I'm somewhere on the fence, but I'm going to lean toward the youngster. Get Pat Mahomes. I got him winning.
All right, you have the Chiefs. Ron had the Bucks. We're getting a lot of predictions coming in. I'm going to go with the Bucks as well. I even have a score prediction. I have the Bucks winning 38-27 later on tonight over the Chiefs. For every reason that we praise Patrick Mahomes, from a statistical standpoint, you have to be just as praiseworthy of Tom Brady, because if you look at the total amount of throws, the completions, the yards, the completion percentage, the touchdowns. Tom Brady has more touchdowns this year. He has more completions. He has more pass attempts. Tom Brady has outdueled Patrick Mahomes throughout the year, who we deem as a guy that is playing above and beyond everyone else, which he is when you watch him. I'm not taking anything away from Patrick Mahomes. I'm just really pointing towards how on it that Tom Brady has been this year. Keith, when we talk about Aaron Rodgers, or when we talk about Tom Brady going to the Bucs, we talked about it like when players late in their careers, when they're old and washed up, they go to a couple different teams just to try to extend their careers, like Michael Jordan to the Wizards. This is nothing like Michael Jordan going to the Wizards. I mean, Tom Brady is actually playing better than his last MVP that he won just 3 years ago. So I have the Bucs winning this one big. I like their weapons just as much as I like the weapons of the offensive side for the Chiefs. And I think that the Bucs defense is better. And with the Chiefs offensive line being banged up, I also like the Bucs run game better. I have to go with the Bucs in this one, 38-27. And Tom Brady going to win a Super Bowl with the second team, his 7th Super Bowl in his career. I'm pumped for tonight's
He's
ball.
already played his 10th Super Bowl. I'm jealous about that. He's got me by 9.
10. He's played in 10 of them. That is, he's played in 10, looking to win his 7th.
Unbelievable.
Pretty cool. So,
yeah. So, no matter what happens tonight, there's going to be great storylines. The first pandemic Super Bowl. The smallest crowd ever for a Super Bowl. So it's going to break all kind of records. And, it will still be special for all the players that's playing in this game. I would like to see a halftime 40-yard contest between Tyreek Hill and Miller, from Tampa. So he said, hey, I'll take him in the sprint. I would love to see that race, even though it will be over by the first 20 yards. Kansas City has the only team, in the playoffs that can score from anywhere on the field, whether it be Tyreek Hill, Hardman. They can strike like lightning in a matter of seconds. But we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out.
Absolutely.
My battery's getting low. I got 7% battery.
Oh, that's perfect
Hopefully I
timing.
don't die. 6%.
We are wrapping up again. Keith has the Chiefs winning Super Bowl 55 tonight over the Bucs. I have the Bucs winning 38-27 over the Chiefs in Super Bowl 55 later on tonight. And with everything that has gone on in our world over the last year, I'm just pumped that we are even watching a Super Bowl later today. And that's all that matters right now. So do it, have fun, however you do it safely, of course. I'm looking forward to that. I do want to give a shout out to Frickers for being gracious hosts each and every Sunday morning. Thank you, Frickers. Jim Manley and his team do a fantastic job. We talk about how sports teams navigate through a pandemic. It's interesting hearing how our local restaurants and businesses have navigated through this pandemic too. They've done a fantastic job with that. But thank you, Frickers, for being gracious hosts to us each and every Sunday morning. We will be back in the fall, and we're pumped to be with you each and every Sunday morning throughout the NFL season. Keith, that wraps it up. Closing time.
Great. That's you said it all. Good work over here. Another successful season over here. Wow. Well, we finally turned the page on 2020. We're in 2021. And let's start off with a bang with a great Super Bowl 55. Double nickel Super Bowl. Let's have a great Super Bowl tonight.
Looking forward to next year when the Browns are in the Super Bowl and the Bengals are still at home, not in the playoffs. I can't wait for it. It's going to be an exciting year. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you, and take care. This has been the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show live here on 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton's ESPN radio station. Brandon, thanks for all your work back at the station. You guys take care.